Do you remember Clifford the Red Dog? It was a book series, an animated and live-action movie, multiple shows, all about a red dog. I remember liking these books in particular a lot and finding the live-action movie pretty horrifying. But even back then, I had an aching question. A question that went unanswered till today, because the itch it sparked sent me down a rabbit hole that I couldn't stop digging. What exactly is Clifford? Now at first you may just say he's a dog, but I don't accept that. Why? Because dogs aren't 20 feet tall and red. That's just not a thing. His parents aren't even red. He's an anomaly in his own family. So what is he? Is he a kaiju or some mystical beast or a hellhound? Well, oh boy, do I have the answer. Not only do I know exactly what he is, why he's in this show, and how he explains every weird anomaly around him, but how his mere existence has sparked a government plot, one of magic, one of capitalism, all centered on a big red dog. I promise you, if you liked any of my theories before, then buckle in. This one is just as crazy. This is the Clifford Conspiracy. Clifford the Big Red Dog began as a children's book in 1963 and had countless animated shows on PBS, a series of children's books, and multiple movies, with one of them being an entirely different continuity that we'll get into a little later. It's a pretty simple story because there's not much to the story. It's about a little girl named Emily and her pet dog named Clifford, and Clifford and sometimes Emily go on little adventures on the island they live on called Birdwell. See, the weird part comes in when you acknowledge and ask the question, why Clifford is a 20-foot tall blood red dog? That doesn't make sense at all. Even in universe, I went through all Clifford media and people initially treat him being big and red as a very weird thing, but then also entirely brush it off when he destroys countless roads and homes. And apparently, I'm not joking, when he doesn't get bathed, his mere presence kills the plants in the nearby area. He is a literal omen of death. This all leaves me to ask the simple, logical question. What is he really? He can't just be a dog, because ignoring his size, he is red, which isn't a dog color, especially when looking at his mother, who is a normal colored golden retriever. He is not. So what is he? Well, I think I have a few ideas. Let me explain. First off, I think we should look at what we actually know about Clifford, which sadly isn't very much. For one, he is red. This is very important. Now, a misconception I see a lot is that Clifford was always big, which isn't exactly true. It's actually the opposite of such. In the initial books, his backstory has him being a small, sick puppy who wasn't even supposed to survive to the winter. He was so small, he bathed in a soup bowl. Probably a little easier than bathing in the Atlantic. But once Clifford gets adopted by Emily, she wished him with all her love to be big, and well, overnight, he grew a little bit. But other than that, we don't know much about him, so we're gonna have to go based off solely these things. So we must ask the question, what is Clifford? My first idea is maybe he's some kind of mutant dog thing. The red color could just be explained as a rare genetic defect from some sort of government experiment or just some disease Clifford has. The mention of him being sick could have been him literally being sick, and whatever mutation he has that makes him red is shortening his life. But there are many problems with this theory. It doesn't explain the weird magic love effect Emily has to make Clifford big, nor does it really solve how he became a mutant dog and somehow lands in the hands of Emily's neighbor. Another possibility is that Clifford is a kaiju. He definitely fits the size, and I see a lot of people saying he could be a kaiju simply because of that, but that's about where the similarities end. Kaijus usually are monsters in Japanese media to the point when you look up kaiju, it's defined as a monster of humongous size from Japanese fantasy like Godzilla or King Kong. That doesn't exactly sound like Clifford, who is a red golden retriever from Massachusetts. Also, we still don't have a great answer for the weird emotional love magic between Clifford and Emily, something usually not found in kaiju-related media. Now, another theory that I actually think could work is Emily herself being a witch, and Clifford being her familiar. This one solves a few things because it gives Emily a solution for her own weird moments. For one, it could solve how Clifford didn't die despite being so sick. In the original book, the neighbor tells her he won't survive the winter, but after just one night, he's not only alive, he's healthier than ever despite defying all physics and logic. But if you say it's some sort of magic witch stuff healing him, then that kind of solves that issue. Another huge problem, no pun intended, is the square cube law. The square cube law basically means when something increases in size, its volume, and therefore its mass, increase faster than its surface area. Clifford being 25 feet tall means he'd weigh somewhere between 87,000 to 120,000 pounds. A normal dog's skeleton and muscles wouldn't scale up to support that, so he'd just collapse under his own weight. This means for Clifford to physically exist, he has to have something supernatural be involved. And while Emily being a witch is pretty supernatural, this theory also made sense when you look at how Emily and Clifford communicate. Emily can understand Clifford's thoughts, but not other animals. This would make sense if he was her familiar with some kind of magic bond between them. But even this theory doesn't explain everything, mainly not solving why Clifford is red, a very important problem I would like to solve. It suggests there's something innately magical or supernatural or just weird about Clifford himself, something beyond Emily being a witch and him just being some dog. Which brings me to what I actually think Clifford is. I think Clifford is a hellhound. My idea here is that maybe all of this is more complicated than Clifford just being a kaiju or a mutant or Emily being a witch. Maybe it's a mix of both. There's definitely something weird about both Clifford and Emily, and we could say Emily herself may have some magic to her, but Clifford still seems to have his own weird issues going on. I think actually him being a hellhound or some form of demon makes the most sense when taking in all of this. Hellhounds are often described as huge, supernatural creatures. Clifford kind of fits that. They're also depicted in colors such as red, which Clifford happened to be compared to the normal colors of, say, a golden retriever. More importantly though, hellhounds have powers. Clifford says to shake the earth when he howls, something hellhounds do, or how Clifford merely existing decays the earth around him, which to me is very demonic and supernatural, like a hellhound. But I still think the thing that truly sells Clifford being a hellhound and the deeper connection between him and Emily is his backstory, and how I believe Clifford isn't just a demon Emily accidentally adopted, but a curse on her, her family, and this entire world. Don't believe me? Let me explain. Clifford isn't just a big red dog, he's a curse. And that's evident in both his backstory and in every episode and book with Clifford. Let's start out and revisit his backstory and how he got adopted. In the book Clifford the Small Red Puppy, we see how all this begins. Emily is living in the city and her neighbor offers her one of his dog's puppies. Seems simple enough. The puppies and their mother all appear to be normal golden retrievers, normal size, normal color, nothing weird. Then she finds Clifford. The neighbor tries to explain he's too small and sick and for some reason does not point out the fact he is literally red. Like the straight quote is, "Don't take him, he's the runt, he'll always be small and sick." But of course she doesn't listen, instead begs him to give her Clifford, and so he says, "Be careful for what you wish for," and the rest is history. But let's actually break this down. If the neighbor really didn't want to give Clifford to Emily, he would just be in a different room, and he wouldn't let her take him. Especially when he seems to be either half mutant diseased, blood red, or what we found is a demon from hell. But he just gives a weird mysterious line instead about wishes and we never see him again. Except we kinda do. See, in the Clifford live action movie, there is a character who is very similar to the neighbor. The problem with this film, other than it being very bad, is just in a different continuity and has changed enough things where it's hard in the theory because it's not the same universe as say the books and the show. But when there are elements I found in both the movie and the show and the books, it leads me to think there's an underlying theme that I can turn into a theory, and that's how it works with Mr. Bridgewell. See, Mr. Bridgewell is not the neighbor. They're different characters, but both are responsible for giving Clifford to Emily, which makes me pay more attention to who Mr. Bridgewell actually is. In the movie, he is straight up magical and appears throughout the film doing wacky, weird things, sometimes even ominous things where he is straight up confirmed to just be using magic. The film basically goes out and says Clifford is magic as well, and so is the guy who gave him to Emily. And I don't know, I think if the movie version, the original owner, is magical, maybe the books in the show version is as well, which is why I think the neighbor is behind all of this. Maybe the neighbor is Satan, or a devil, or just a mean dude with magic and a hellhound. Whatever he is, I think he deliberately gave Clifford to Emily as some sort of magic monkey paw, you get what you wish for situation. It makes a special sense with the literal last line of him being, you get what you wish for. Now, why I think all of this is a monkey paw situation is because it sucks to own and be around Clifford. There's no way getting around it, it just does. Think about how much food Clifford would eat, and well, someone did on the internet, and they said it came around to costing over $100,000 a year. And that's just on food, removing the mass property damage Clifford causes in basically every episode, or the amount of water he most likely drinks to the point they probably had to fill a pool for him to stay hydrated. Clifford is an annoying, expensive, and dangerous being to be anywhere near, let alone own. And I think this is straight up acknowledged in the show. In the theme song for Clifford, one of the lines is literally, Clifford got so big they were forced to leave their home and move to the island called Birdwell. They were forced to move to an island called Birdwell. If hell on earth exists, a place called Birdwell is gonna be it. Especially when you bring a demon named Clifford. These parents had successful jobs back in the city, but on the island, they both work at a gift shop, which means they both are most likely in intense debt from Clifford. As last time I checked, working retail at an island gift shop probably doesn't pay an extra $100,000 for dog food. And remember, only Emily can hear Clifford, so Emily kinda has to be near him at all times and entertain his every whim, because if she's not there, who else is gonna stop the 20-foot tall demon of death from literally walking the ocean floor? All of this together is why I believe Clifford is a hellhound, and a literal curse on Emily, on her family, and at this point the entire town of Birdwell and their poor destroyed roads. But you wanna know the crazy part about all of this? It's not even the end of this theory. See, I believe all of this goes so much deeper than just the depths of hell to the depths of the United States government. I believe the government has begun to not just contain and watch Clifford and Emily, but are monetizing their own experiments and funding this entire island, turning Clifford into not just a demonic test subject, but a zoo animal. Let me explain. There's something I haven't talked about yet in this video because I've been focusing on what Clifford is and not how Clifford physically cannot be a pet. Not only should he not be, but honestly, I don't even think he can be. Clifford is a 20-foot tall, destructive being of death that has no self-control, and from what we've theorized is a literal demon from hell, and somehow the government is just letting him chill on a populated island with Emily? Okay, that's stupid, but maybe if he stays there and doesn't leave, they'll just let him be. Except when he walks across the Atlantic Ocean on foot. That would probably get him in a little trouble, right? But for some reason, no one cares. Or maybe they do, and they're just letting all this happen because they have way more control than we think. To help me illustrate my point, let's just list what Clifford is allowed to get away with on his regular basis. Clifford has delayed critical infrastructure projects like sewer repairs, which would put workers at risk of injury and delay city projects months behind. He also straight up destroys cars, basically kicking them like soccer balls, or accidentally running into someone's shed. Who's paying for that repair? The Howards? The guy who owns the shed? Clifford? This is especially important with the many roads he destroys. Roads are expensive. I know this gift shop apparently pays the big bucks, but how much money is his family really throwing at Birdwell to let Clifford stay there with them? Clifford, simply put, is not a pet, and I don't think the government would let him be either. So the real question is, why is no one doing anything about it? Well, I think someone actually is. See, I think the government is actually very involved in Clifford and the Howards' every move, always watching, studying, and eventually monetizing. Think about it. Birdwell is this tiny, quiet island cut off from the rest of the world. Not a major city, not a place where millions of people could get hurt if Clifford loses control, just a few hundred. So sending Clifford and the family away to Birdwell makes a lot of sense than keeping them in the city. Now, at first I was hesitant about this idea because why wouldn't the government just take away Clifford? Why would they let Emily believe Clifford is hers and let all the destruction on this island happen? human? Well, think about it. From their perspective and really the world, they only got what the parents and Emily told them as explanation. In the original origin, a neighbor calls the police on them because they see Clifford being 20 feet tall right outside the apartment. I would say the parents are most likely taken away to some sort of top secret place to explain, but what are they gonna say? Clifford got big? All the government and the parents got to go off of is Emily, and what she says, she loved him so much she got big. And while even we piece together an alternative theory, maybe the government hasn't and is trying to study not just Clifford but Emily as well, and how they're connected. So they send them off to a random island and let them be, most likely funding these parents' expenses so they can afford to feed the beast that is Clifford. The government being behind Clifford just seems to make a lot of issues we haven't even solved yet make sense. Mainly all the damage to the city he caused, and also the expenses I just said they would pay that otherwise would lead the family into deep debt. I assume in the Truman Show situation, the town are either actors or simply being paid off, and just Emily doesn't know because, well, that could break the bond between her and Clifford. But that's sadly not even the worst of it. Sure, the government lying to Emily is sad, but to be honest, I don't think Clifford is a pet either, and think it's probably a good thing someone other than a 10-year-old girl is watching over him. But sadly, it doesn't just end at scientific studies and protecting the world from demons, but instead all leads to, well, what you assume it would: greed. See, I found many examples of Clifford being monetized by the government from merchandise to simply being a tourism attraction. We see the kids make a brochure for the island, and guess who's front and center? Clifford. The government is turning the island into a zoo to see the great big red dog himself. In the early books, the mainland didn't even know about Clifford, but in later episodes, people are flocking to Birdwell for Clifford. The parents literally work at a gift shop with Clifford merch. This entire island started out as a government experiment to watch and study a demonic hellhound and a little girl, but became a tourism attraction, monetizing literal hell on earth, using what is one person's never-ending torture as a source for profit as another person's one-time wonder. And the truly sad thing is, Emily will never know. She won't know about the wish she actually made that broke her life, her family, what Clifford is, her neighbor, how her life and suffering is being watched and turned into a spectacle, and how she can never escape any of it because the big dog in red can always catch up.